Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we have a Week 12 instant reaction show for you. We're going to go through some of the top players and some of the disappointments. So Jeff, how about we just get going with it right away here? I'm actually going to skip over the top player I had on my list. I'm going to go to the number 2 player, which is Alvin Kamara, because I like bringing up Kamara every week like we do on here. And he shows up every week on our top players. So, what do you have to say about Kamara after this week?
Just keep singing his praises, really. He hasn't gone. It's kind of an unbelievable season. I don't want to go back that far, but he has his biggest week yet to date. And he's only gone under double digits in standard scoring 3 times this year. And he was the third back for most of it. So I can't tell you how awesome this guy is. And it kind of establishes why we keep talking about, even though Ingram is wonderful and he's probably got more upside when it comes to touchdowns, why we like Kamara a little more. And this kind of shows it because when he doesn't get the touchdowns, Kamara in the passing game still makes up for that. So, huge game for him. Ingram was down a little bit. I just love everything about him.
Yeah, and Kamara only had 5 carries today. That's it. 5 carries. And he still puts together a ridiculous game because he's averaging 7.1 yards per carry now on the season. It's ridiculous. Maybe they should give him the ball a couple more times.
Exactly. And man, I love it. In the passing game, this is where he really shines too. Because obviously 7 yards a clip, like Craig just said, is unbelievable for a running back. But if we just take the last 4 games when I feel like he's really coming to his own, 6 receptions for 84 yards and touchdown, 5 for 32, 6 for 74 touchdown, 6 for 101 in a touchdown. The last 4 games, and that's just receiving. And then you add on anything he rushes. This guy is an absolute goldmine. He's a dual threat we haven't seen since, Le'Veon Bell, really.
Yeah, he's so good. And yeah, he doesn't need many touches to keep doing it. So keep throwing. We've said it before, he's top 10. He's top 10 every week. I don't know. Maybe he's top 5. This is the way he's playing. It's every single week. If he ever gets more touches, he's going to be up there easily. He's the most consistent player, I feel like, up here. All right, how about we move on to the next guy, who's actually probably the top guy, for the week. That's going to be Julio Jones, who put together his typical massive game that he normally does every year, and he did it for 12 catches, 253 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Just ridiculous. And this is why every single week we have kept ranking Julio Jones in our top 10, even though, we seem to get some backlash on it, we keep ranking Julio too high. But this is why Julio's up there, because this is what he can do. And I don't think there's another player other than obviously Antonio Brown that can do what Julio did today.
Yeah. I think, first of all, 253 yards is mind-blowing. It really does show what an unbelievable specimen this guy is, how unbelievable of a wide receiver. But it also is kind of funny because his yardage, when you look at his games, is never bad. And it's just the touchdowns that separates him from these other fantasy players. So his production as a football player has been outstanding. But today, after 2 touchdowns, it brings his touchdown total to 3. So it really is the big thing holding him back. But, kudos. Finally, he got in a couple different times. They finally got him over double-digit catches. And my God, did he just make Tampa Bay look so stupid. It was unbelievable, 253 yards.
And if you are a Julio owner you're able to weather the storm of his not putting up maybe first-round numbers, you get Tampa again in Week 15 if you get that far. So that'll be a nice matchup, Week 15. Tampa just looked terrible. We knew they were bad coming in, but this has been really bad. And then maybe Green Bay can take advantage of it next week, and then Detroit Week 14. But Atlanta again Week 15. It could get a little ugly. But this is by Julio, top 10 every week. Keep plugging him into your lineups. Don't even ever think about sitting a player like this because, there's not many guys that can do what he did. So, not talk about the next wide receiver that is dominant like that, Antonio Brown. He did it again tonight in the Sunday night game here with 10 catches for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just ridiculous. This guy's unbelievable. Which I don't even know if we need to talk about Brown that much. We know how great he is, but how about Ben Roethlisberger now with 351 and 4 touchdowns today? What is this, 2 big games in a row?
Yeah, it feels like he's really putting it together after they had the bye week 9. There's a lot to love about him right now, and that was without Schuster as well. So Bryant kind of picked it up. Bell was all over the field making little catches. Ben was making all the correct reads. It was another wonderful show by him, and as long as he has a healthy Antonio Brown, I have to believe this moving forward, he's going to be a viable option to play.
Yeah, I think so too. He's going to be probably top 10 now. If everyone's clicking like this, you have to play him. Because this is what we expected early on. It just didn't happen. But if this is going to keep going on, you're going to play Ben every week. But all right, how about the Green Bay? I'm just going to stay in this game because there's a couple players I want to talk about over there. Jamaal Williams had 2 touchdowns today, 1 running, 1 receiving. He had over 130 total yards. He only had 21 carries for 66 yards, so it wasn't like it was great that way, but I didn't quite expect this from him. He was an ad for people because of the volume he was going to get. I just didn't think he could actually do something with the volume, but that was good to see. But are you going to trust this? Is this kind of a mirage?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to be he'll be a fine play, but I don't think I can expect over 20 yards from him. And it's mostly because I don't really expect Brett Hundley to do what he did either. I feel like they kind of went tandem here. So he had 245 yards with 3 touchdowns, one of them to Williams. I think that isn't going to be usual, even though they do have Tampa Bay next week. So another very good matchup. But as you see, when he's just getting rushes, he only had 21 rushes, which is a lot, for 66 yards, which isn't numbers that are going to blow you away. And he's pretty much done that the last 3 games. So 20 for 67, 18 for 57, 21 for 66. He finally got in the end zone. I don't expect him to continue kind of producing in the passing game always. So I think you would taper expectations. I think he's more going to be a guaranteed 6-point guy and then a high of like 12.
Yep. I agree. I think that's about what you can expect from him. And who knows, if Montgomery's back next week, he's going to be out there too. Williams probably earned himself some kind of role, but it's not going to be for sure. But actually, the most exciting thing for me about this game was actually pregame. Aaron Rodgers, did you see any of these highlights? He's sitting there throwing the ball 50 yards.
Did he? No, I actually didn't.
Heard somewhere one of them was a 54-yard pass he threw in the air.
Oh my gosh! Well, I tell you, the bandwagon I jumped on by adding Aaron Rodgers onto my bench after Craig did it, and to spite him, who knows? Maybe they'll come back and pay dividends.
If you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, it was very exciting to see that. So go pick him up if he's still out there for you.
And I think it's safe to say that every Jordy owner out there is praying for him to come back too, because where in the world did that guy fall off to?
3 for 11 today, and he's like the third option. At best, you would say. I don't know.
Yeah, he was really. I wouldn't even call him the 4th option, but the 4th. It's by far Devontae Adams, the go-to guy, and then Cobb still had a touchdown, and Williams was more productive. So I don't know, man. I'm not sure what is going to happen with that one, but as long as Brett Hundley is behind there, I just have no faith in Jordy whatsoever. It's really a bummer, especially for teams going into the playoffs with him.
All right, how about move over to the Cincinnati Bengals in Joe Mixon? Because this is what we've been waiting for all year.
Finally.
Every week we talk about Joe Mixon. We know he's talented, and we keep ranking him as a start. I think every week. We haven't dropped him out of our top 25 ever. That means he's a starter every week for us. And today, 23 carries, 114 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 balls for 51 yards. This is how good the guy can be. We knew it all along, and you're going to have down weeks yet, but this is just a sign of things to come. I think more for next year. I'm more excited about it. I don't know if it's going to continue this year, but it was great to see this.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And I know that people are going to say, hey, hold on, it was against Cleveland. But remember, he did play Cleveland already in week 4. He had 17 rushes for 29 yards. Compare that to what he did in week 12, and you can see the difference and how he's kind of like acclimating to the NFL game, I really do think that his talent is finally showing through. I don't think this was a fluke, actually. I think this is going to continue, unlike, say a Williams or something. I think Mixon is for real.
I do too. He is that good. I mean, if you watch him play for any amount of time, you start to see signs of it, and you knew it's going to come together at some point, and I think it's starting to. So, I mean, this is more for next year too, though. He's going to be like a second rounder, I think, in a lot of drafts next year. If he continues any kind of pace the rest of this year, he's going to get himself, I mean, if he go to the third next year, it'd be a steal, I feel like. It's going to be a good pickup for people for next year. All right. How about talk about Robbie Anderson here? This is now, let's see, 5 straight games with touchdowns for Robbie Anderson, and this was his best one. Caught 6 passes, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's putting up wide receiver 1 numbers here. I mean, a lot of people are having hard times with Robbie Anderson, or at least they were sitting him against starting other guys over him, but you can't sit him, I think, at this point. You got to start him every single week.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, you look at his numbers, and as much as you want to say at some point he's not going to score a touchdown, if you were playing him, you're happy, until it runs out. So, I mean, 5 straight games with a touchdown or more. I mean, he really is. He's the number 1 option there. McCown is playing really well. Just because the Jets aren't necessarily the greatest team in the world doesn't mean that there aren't going to be players on there that produce. And Robbie Anderson is, blowing everyone's mind right now because he really is a top 15 wide receiver out there.
Would you start Robbie Anderson or Mike Evans?
Oh, man. I guess I would have to go on the matchup, really. I think that's how crazy it is. Because I don't have a whole lot of faith Evans is getting in the end zone these days.
And what about like Anderson or Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, once again, I mean, I think Robbie Anderson is more consistent. I think I would have an easier time playing him right now than Tyreek, but Tyreek has the upside. So it's really depending who I play, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy, though. Those players have turned into matchup dependent if you're going to play them or play Robbie Anderson. But yeah, that's what's happened. So, all right, some other guys here. I'm going to go through them quicker because they're good and we know why. At least Rob Gronkowski. Great week this week, but he's good. And we knew he's going to have weeks like this. People have been kind of down on it because he hasn't been maybe getting touchdowns, whatever. 2 touchdowns a day look great. And he's gonna have good weeks like this, and you play him every week as your starting tight end and you don't think about it. So good week for him. But one guy I did like in the backfield there, Dion Lewis, 15 carries, 112 yards, which is just really nice to see again because he is clearly taken over that backfield. But Rex Burkhead is also playable, as evidenced by 2 touchdowns today. Only 53 total yards, but 2 touchdowns for Burkhead.
Yeah, we were big on picking them up. I wasn't expecting both of them to do quite this well right out of the gate, but it's really good to see.
Yeah, it's hard to play them for some reason in my mind, but you do a lot worse, I think. I think Lewis is pretty safe. I still worry about Burkhead just because when you're more touchdown dependent, it worries me a bit. But
yeah, and Lewis it's a tough one. It's kind of a tough, kind of a coin toss for me. I think it really. I hate to do this, but I mean, I really do think it depends on who they play team-wise, because I know Dion Lewis is going to get more rushing. He's been phenomenal when he's gotten a decent amount of carries. But I think Burkhead is much safer in the passing game. So, I think depending on the flow of the game, if they score a lot, both of them are going to be fine. But if it's going to be a closer game, if they're going to rush more, I would do Dion Lewis. If they're going to pass more, I would go Burkhead.
Then Marshawn Lynch had 111 total yards today with a touchdown. So nice to see that. But the 67 rushing yards came off 26 carries. So that wasn't very efficient, but at least he pulled off the touchdown, had a pretty good week. So you're still using Lynch. He's still not a great option, but that also shows that Denver defense, they're just not that scary anymore, I would say. Then how about another guy here for Arizona, the tight end who didn't play more than 1 snap the entire season until last week where he scores a couple of touchdowns. Ricky Seals-Jones, who I had no idea who this guy was before last week. And I still really don't know who he is.
I was going to say, do you know now? Because I still don't.
4 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, This is one that I am going to have an extremely hard time with because I know so little about this guy. And I don't know. He's played 2 weeks now. That's it. He had literally one snap the first 10 weeks. So he's played 2 games, has 7 catches for 116 yards and 3 touchdowns. Against Jacksonville today, and last week was against Houston, who's not a pushover necessarily on defense. Not, greatest, but I don't know. Would you ever trust him in your lineup? I mean, especially I guess if you're hurting at tight end.
I mean, yeah.
Would you throw him in there as a flyer?
If I'm hurting at tight end, I mean, why not? But I'll be honest, I'm not. I hate to say it, but this is one guy that I'm not the one to ask because I truly don't know anything about this guy. I think he could be a flash in the pan. Maybe other teams just haven't seen him coming. But it just goes to show what the tight end position has turned into because I love how I just got down on Hunter Henry after being on his bandwagon, and then he finally comes out and has a great game. And it's really all over the board. So, yes, absolutely, he's worth a pickup. And definitely, I wouldn't have any problem playing him if you don't have one of those top 5 guys. But is he going to continue this ridiculous pace? I truly have no idea.
I doubt it, but hey, if we get one more week of it, then that's where.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you're going to put him in your one more week of it gets you to the playoffs in week 14, and then you throw Seals Jones in your lineup. I still wouldn't feel comfortable with it, but hey.
No, but I mean, really, if you didn't have one of the top 5 guys, say, like, wouldn't you rather have him after what he just did the past 2 weeks than, I don't know, a Croft or a Doyle?
Yeah, I think I actually would. I probably would want him over Croft or Doyle. I think I would.
Yeah, I think whether he pans out or not, I think he's a smart ad going into the playoffs.
Well, and actually it coincides his success in playing was the same as the 2 games that Blaine Gabbert's been there. So maybe this is somebody that Blaine Gabbert's looking for some reason. And yeah. I think Gabbert's played well enough where it's his job the rest of the season. I think he's overtaken Stanton, even if Stanton's healthy. So maybe this is just a guy he looks for. But you brought up Hunter Henry at a good game. So I'm not going to talk much about the Thanksgiving games because now it's already, 3 days away, or no one cares as much. But Keenan Allen. Just got to talk about Keenan Allen quick. 11 catches for 172 and a touchdown. This little 2-game stretch is ridiculous.
I know. And I just want to bask in my glory just for a little bit because as much as I hyped him up going into the year, and he's kind of a safe pick. Like, he hasn't disappointed necessarily, but because of the last 2 games, this guy is going to be in the top 10 of wide receivers. And I just feel like redeemed a little bit because, I mean, my God, first of all, I don't know where all these giant performances are coming, but it is feast or famine out in fantasy football land, and Keenan Allen is taking full advantage right now. The last 2 weeks have been a gold mine, and he's winning people weeks finally.
Yeah, it's crazy that he's going to be well into the top 10 now without a problem, after just 2 major weeks. All right, let me talk about some of the guys that disappointed a little bit. I'm going to start the list off with Kareem Hunt, who, I don't know, we started talking about this a few weeks ago. We were worried about Kareem Hunt, and I think it's gotten worse now at this point. 11 carries for 17 yards today and only 1 catch. So I'm really, really concerned now about Kareem Hunt where, do you bench Kareem Hunt? I don't know. Would you bench him at this point? Are you confident enough for just the volume? Maybe there's volume that you think that he can turn it around.
Oh, man, you would really have to have a set to bench Kareem Hunt. I know he hasn't been great. Probably not benching him yet. I can't imagine you have a couple of runners above him that you feel safer about, especially going against like the Jets and Oakland here in a moment. But it's sad to say, but I would probably consider my other options. But right now, no, I don't think I'm confident enough to make that move I'm trying to make a case for him because he was so dominant in the beginning, but he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 4. And his yardage keeps going like further and further down. And it doesn't help that he just hit his all-time low for points scored in the game, but he hasn't been playing that well.
No, and the Kansas City team as a whole hasn't been playing well. So That's just they've been bad, and I mean I am too. I'm going to still play him because I have a hard time believing you have better options. And even before this week, he is worst in standard with 6.1 before this week. Which if that's the absolute worst you get, that's okay. So it hasn't been great, but there's going to be another big game here. It's going to happen. He's going to get a touchdown. I'm obviously concerned, but he's going to do something where you don't want to miss out necessarily. And I think he's better than a lot of the other options.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those unfortunate trends like you see, and we're seeing it right now. It's like who's trending up at the right time and who's trending down. Hunt is someone that helped you get to the playoffs. I have a feeling a lot of those teams are probably in that hunt, if not already in. Play on words. But right now, getting into the playoffs, it doesn't look like he's going to be the one to help you win it. And, people that may have been more annoying to have on your team for a little while, we're talking about, Allen, for instance. He looks like he's ramping up a Roethlisberger. And if you can slide those guys into positions, they're the ones that are going to probably help you win more than these guys that were kind of your workhorses all the way through, week 10.
Then T.Y. Hilton is 1.5 points today, 15 yards. This guy this is the biggest boom or bust player I've ever seen because he has had 3 games this season with over 150 yards. And the other games, he has no more than 57 in a game. And I'm going to pull up his last 6 games. His last 6 games, he's gone in standard scoring 1.9, 2.7, 1.5, then 29.5, 2.3, 1.5. I think you're benching him for sure. I would not play him. And you're playing against Jacksonville next week. T.Y. Hilton better be on your bench because this is ridiculous.
I mean, you look at it too. He's not playing, going forward. He's not playing anyone that he's already torched. And generally, he torched bad teams. We're talking Cleveland, San Francisco, and then Houston, which is whatever. But so he's not playing any of those teams. They're actually, for the most part, good defenses. So I would expect him finishing out the year very quietly.
I would too. Just keep him on your bench. Don't even. If you miss his huge week, I don't even care at this point. I'm fine to miss his big week, and I am a T.Y. Hilton owner, so I'm going to be benching him, and I don't really care if I miss one big week.
Life without luck is very, very. It's a cold, cold, desolate world.
It is. All right. How about Jordan Howard here? 7 carries for 6 yards today. A little bit of a disappointment. Are you going to chalk this one up to just playing against Philadelphia and how Philly's just ridiculous right now?
Yeah, it's not really worrisome, I guess, for me. I look at it and I say, he's not on a great team. They don't have much of a passing situation that they can really hang their hat on. This is going to probably happen to him. Next week, he has San Francisco. You're starting him on that game. We'll see what he does there. So I'm not as worried. It sucks that he got such a low point score, but at the same time, what are you going to do?
It's going to happen. He plays on a bad team, so once in a while this is going to happen. It's a bad team going against the best team in the league right now, so things happen like that. All right, how about I'm going to talk about Doug Baldwin here at a disappointing game, 2 for 25. Just not very good against San Francisco, which you thought could be a good matchup, but I'm not worried about that too much just because, Russell Wilson still had a good game. He spreads the ball around a little bit, so that's what's going to happen some weeks. Some weeks you're just not going to get the ball, but for the most part, he should be fine, I would think. But the offense here, I don't really have much else, but the offense here that is just terribly disappointing, and I'm almost thinking you should avoid most of them, is Denver. And C.J. Anderson, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, nobody did anything today. And are you expecting anything from, I'm expecting nothing at this point from C.J. Anderson. And it's not even him, it's just this team is so bad because Devontae Booker didn't do anything either. It was Booker had 6 for 11, Anderson had 5 for 12, Jamal Charles had 1 for 3. But are you concerned about Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders? Are you going to be playing these guys, or what should we do?
Yeah, they're not playing if I can help it. It's kind of been that way. C.J. Anderson, I know both of us own him. I haven't played him in the past handful of weeks. I know you probably haven't either, have you?
No, it's been a few weeks since I've put him in a lineup. Probably three.
Yeah, and the decline has been steep, and now they're going back to Simeon, and the quarterback situation is, still in flux. They do have some talented guys, but that offense is in a bad spot, and I would try to avoid it if at all possible. I know it's hard because especially when you're going to a flex position or wide receiver 3, and you see Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders on your bench, it's very difficult not to throw them in there and hope for the best. But, the outlook is not good at the moment.
Yeah, and even Demaryius Thomas, you look at he had 3 straight weeks with touchdowns before this week. But even last week, that touchdown and most of the catches came late in that game when it was garbage time. It's hard to trust. But this offense is just terrible right now. It's no good. None of these quarterbacks are any good. They're just wasting a good defense because I think this defense is kind of just given up at this point. They're much better than they've been playing lately, and it's just because what's the point if the offense can't do anything for you? So I think that's where they've gone with that. All right. Do you have any other players here we missed you wanted to bring up?
Not really. I mean, I think it was kind of it was interesting. I do have to give props to another great performance by 2 quarterbacks that, keep being overlooked, Case Keenum and Josh McCown. A lot of these guys are, or I shouldn't say a lot, but these 2 guys actually might still be around in waiver pickups every once in a while because they're a little bit, or Keenum has been up and down. But both of them are doing wonderful lately, and they might be helpful. Both of them hit over 30 today, which you just don't expect. So it's kind of a shift right now. Certain people are playing well. Don't overlook that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit of quarterbacks that actually scored some points today for once. So it's nice to see those scores go up a little bit. But all right, I think that'll do it. If you guys want to make sure you get your questions in for our mailbag episode this week, just either email us, fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com, or go to Twitter, we're the FF Prophet, or Instagram, fantasyfootballprophet. You can ask us questions there. We'll answer them on Wednesday's show again this week. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.